Thank you. Feeling a lot of emotions right now. I'm Sean. I'm from Hello Games. We're a tiny little indie studio. We're a group of friends making No Man's Sky.
A year ago, we announced our most ambitious game yet, Sea of Thieves.
We've created a procedural universe. It's infinite, and it's one that everyone can share.
Sea of Thieves is an emergent experience where you will have limitless adventures.
This universe that we've created, it's so vast, it's so boundless, it's actually infinite, and we don't even know what's out there. When the game releases, every player who picks up a pad and plays is going to help us discover a little bit more.
In Sea of Thieves, you will embark on fantastic adventures with your friends, where you can explore rich worlds in search of hidden treasure, where fantastical creatures will challenge your skill and teamwork, where the potential threat of other players always lurks over the horizon.
You know, it's kind of cool doing this on the E3 build because a lot of people would have seen just the quick 3 minutes that we showed or whatever, but it wasn't some level that we built or something like that, even though I think it looks quite nice in places. You know, it's a procedurally generated world.
I think people watching this would wonder why you're showing this area again. Like, what's so special about demoing the game on this planet?
Oh, no, it's just a place that looks nice.
Despite being more than 2 years away from release, with a huge list of unanswered questions as regards to what the core gameplay loop would involve, or how the various vague systems within this supposedly infinite game would actually work. The few interviews given by Sean Murray at the time were horrendously vague, and honestly, it seemed like none of the outlets covering the game had any interest in pressing the issue with Hello Games.
Welcome to July's IGN First. We are profiling No Man's Sky. We are celebrating the incredible potential of No Man's Sky. Sean Murray, also the programmer and genius behind No Man's Sky. Just take the compliment. I've never seen anything like this in a video game before. This is incredible.
No Man's Sky is just that tedium forever because the combat isn't engaging and all you're trying to do is collect stuff to make more money, to buy yourself a better ship, to get to the center of the galaxy, to fucking who knows what. People have been there and no one sounded too excited about it.
So what awaits us in the center of the galaxy? Spiritual enlightenment, untold wealth, immortality.
Peter Molyneux.
Peter Molyneux.
Peter Molyneux. Peter Molyneux. Peter Molyneux.
Is it purely about finding your way and just somehow being lured by the center of the universe?
You can select one at random if you want.
I will do that. I will happily do that.
It's always a worrying sign when companies decide to deny information to the consumer. Review copies of this game were not given to PC users at all. There was speculation as to why that would be. There was belief that the game was being polished up to the very last minute, which was supposedly substantiated by the fact that there was going to be a day one patch. Regardless of that, though, the day one patch was actually applied to the PlayStation version's launch several days before the PC version even came out, and yet review code was still not issued to those on PC.
I was conned, and what we have now is a far cry from what we were told. And it's especially insulting when you realize that they decided to charge full price for what they knew wasn't the real thing. $60.
It's still hard to say this is a good game, and like he says, the only reason why they've been able to improve the game is because of the mass interest that came before launch, which led to huge sales from misleading information and footage. If players had seen the game how it really was, it's hard to say No Man's Sky is successful at all.
The communication here was clearly off. someone should have shut you up.
Yeah.
Because the game that you sold is not the game that gamers were able to buy.
Few things tempt a pirate like the siren song of a lootable shipwreck. Careful though, there could be anything down there. Literally, there could be anything. We haven't finished designing it yet. Joking, that was a joke.
Sea of Thieves has set sail, but players are already worried about the lack of current content and small amount of cosmetic items. Addressing those concerns, the game's executive producer Joe Neate told IGN, Sea of Thieves is designed from the ground up to be a game that grows and evolves, and we will release new cosmetic options ongoing as a part of that, alongside new mechanics and ways to play.
There's nothing more to this game. All the stuff that was promised by Microsoft sounded great before the game released, but even in practice, the things like the questline structures and things like that, they just don't work in the setting that you have them in now, in this $60 context. They just don't work. There's not enough to do.
It's awesome to be here, and as I said to you earlier, Ryan, like, you guys have been believers and supporters
Absolutely.
of a new IP that we're super passionate about.
We're getting chickens again. More chickens! Here on IGN Plays Live. I am going to look for another ship on the horizon as well. If we see it, I want to go ham. Maybe they have chickens. Maybe they have all the chickens we could ever need. I'm ADDing up here, looking for fun. Look what we just did with our time. Like, realistically, we just went, we got chickens, and we came back. We went south, got chickens, north, turned it in. We got nothing. Obviously, that's not the way the game is supposed to work.
I mean, the nothing thing is an issue.
But I would rather have fun.
I think 5 days out of 7, we were like the #1 watched game.
So, I mean, it suffices to say, your expectations for the reception of the beta was just
that
totally eclipsed.
And on a relatively small slice of content.
Yes.
I'd be lying if I said I enjoy getting chickens and pigs and
You got were these chickens drowned?
Well, right. That's gotta be a good feeling, knowing you got a lot more in the back pocket.
Well, our constraints were, hey, let's keep it kind of like the tech alpha. Let's not put a load of stuff in.
Like
so,
step-by-step notification.
There's a lot of folks calling it No Man's Sea, just because.
Yeah, I mean, guys, it's day one. You know,
for sure. With that said, like,
absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
Let's and you predict this stuff. You go, hey, if it's only people from our tech alpha, from our insiders, we know there's like 400,000 of them. They've all kind of played before, so not all of them will show up. So maybe it'd be a couple of 100,000, still pretty decent scale. And then pre-orders, like, hey, how many pre-orders will be at that stage? Oh, probably this, and not all of them will show up. And there's not much content. So like,
I honestly feel jaded, and it's day one.
But we just proved all that wrong. More people turned up.
I do not want to walk around the island looking for chickens.
They played for longer.
For a game that carries itself on how much fun you can have, this is like the least fun thing.
They streamed.
Is this game worth a buy? My answer, for $60, no.
People will say, hey, when I'm fetching treasure quests or treasure chests, I get a voyage, I go out, I get a chest, I go back to the outpost. And if I'm describing that to you now, that kind of sounds boring. It's awesome because you're digging up treasure and it's very cool emotionally. But what we actually see players do once they've played a few times is not do that. What they do is they go get a load of voyages, they spend all their money on voyages, and then they go out and then they start chaining together voyage to voyage to voyage to voyage to voyage. So you get these scenarios where they have 20 chests.
Some people will just want quests that they just want to jump into, and they know that they can, play for 20, 30 minutes, get rewards, and then go back and start customizing their ship.
As you guys know, I am a great pirate. Everything worked out well, and I finally delivered my treasure and got my giant payment of around 80 coins. Just 70,000 more coins, and I'll finally be able to get a colored sail for my ship.
Voyage to 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 voyage voyage to voyage to voyage to voyage to voyage.
And I'm just sat there playing the game wondering, why aren't there more exciting quests in this game? There's just so much potential. Why, for instance, are there not quests where you take out AI captains or AI ghost ships?
Developers are always working on something, and I have to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the current era that we're in video games where you're literally playing an early access build.
Sea of Thieves is a colossal disappointment, and yet one more game in a steadily growing list of massively overhyped, bare-bones, full-priced $60 release titles that offer less than $20 worth of content. Now, Rare has announced that they will be releasing content over time. Okay, well, let's think about that for a moment. A game released for people to play that is in a state of active development and is launched with only the barest amount of playable content. We all know what that is. It's an early access game. Games released unfinished with a promissory note of further content that is in development and will be released over time. Say hello to the future of games as live services that are bound to an attempted subscription model.
Hello everyone, my name's Joe Neat. I'm the executive producer on Sea of Thieves, and we wanted to start a new series of videos really where we were just talking about the kind of top status of what's going on. We're looking at getting into that rhythm of adding new little features, adding new content as we move forward, and really growing on the kind of the base of Sea of Thieves that we launch with. With next week's build, just wanted to give a little bit more information again around what's coming there. So public and private matchmaking is the big one. We've split the team into 3 different kind of game teams that are looking after each update. So there's the Hungering Deep, there's Curse Sails, and there's Forsaken Shores. So next week we release the Hungering Deep. We're really excited to be bringing kind of new content to Sea of Thieves in this way. So there's a bunch of new features coming in this update. We're going to be having skeleton thrones scattered around the world that you're going to have to find. You know, the Hungering Deep is really just the start, because this is our first content update. It's our first toe in the water, so to speak. And I think quite a lot of people were like, give me reasons to replay it, give me reasons to go back in and earn other stuff, like make it a bit longer, like basically just kind of stretch it out. Our next Build Your Adventure is called The Sunken Curse, and that's going to be coming next week. So currently just the final bits of playtest and polish around that. The next big update to the game is our Curse Sails update, the introduction of the skeleton ships, the AI ships into Sea of Thieves, and like it's very complex. In the world, these kind of cursed mermaid statues have now appeared. They're going to be around the kind of sunken reefs in the world and around islands. And so you're going to have to work together with other members of your crew to destroy these. You may have noticed over the last few weeks we've been accidentally introducing little issues into the build that we wouldn't want to be introducing. Every time we get feedback that, hey, something's broken, like obviously that really frustrates us too as the game creators, not just you, the players. Freddie Prinze Jr.
In the meantime, I wanted to take the time to answer the #1 question that I get asked all the time, which is what has changed about No Man's Sky since launch? And a lot has changed.
I think somebody said it great this week on your guys' show where they're like, it's finally out of alpha and finally out of beta. It's
No Man's Sky has finally released.
Yeah.
We've had 3 major updates, so Atlas Rises, Foundation, Pathfinder, together with our biggest update to date, Next, which is coming out real soon.
Suit power cells depleted. Suit power cells depleted.
They had like a name for one disease back then. They just called everything scurvy.
That's it. But,
that and rats.
But I think that the magic of Sea of Thieves, it's how all of the mechanics interact. Right? You've got some tools we give players, like the firing yourself out of cannons, like you're seeing here, which can be used in a myriad of ways.
I like that he
right?
got a little hurt when he landed, by the way.
Yeah, and by the way, that took us about 82 shots to actually to land that
wow.
when we moved in, because this is all gameplay, all done by our video team, and they hate us for not giving them better tools.
So then that's probably not the most suggested strategy for a situation like if it's a 1 in 82 shot to do that, like
It's so satisfying if it works.
if you could do it, yeah.
But to land it perfectly and to kind of get it, and then this shot here as well, just when he looks at the ship and it gets hit by lightning. Again, this is luck in terms of the lightning doing this, and so at this point, our video team are like, okay, we now need to nail the rest of this shot because otherwise it's gone, right? And but it's such a, but that's the thing, that all these things will happen in the game, right? We didn't script the lightning strike, it just happened, like this is. We did script the shark, but we did script the shark, but
Now that is not a beast you want to pick a fight with. Yes, it's possible to take on these toothy terrors of the deep, but you're not much used to your crew bitten in two.
Oh dang, I'm coming.
What's going on?
Can't kill you?
Southwest.
If I start attacking you and you play the music. There's another one. Let's see if this one's friendly.
Oh shit.
This.
He's trying to sing. He wants to play with us. He likes the music. He's a friendly shark. Oh my god! It's okay, we all make mistakes. Are you a friend? Are you a friend, Shark? It's okay. It's okay. There, little shark. There. I think he's trying to sing.
Yeah, he was trying to bite you. We're talking about No Man's Sky and a number of other games that were one thing at launch and something else entirely much time later after they were subject to mega patching. Something that isn't just a small number of tweaks and fixes, but a dramatic change. A huge update that makes the game one thing at launch and something else, fingers crossed, actually good, months after the fact. Sometimes, in No Man's Sky's case, years after the fact.
Hello Games dropped the No Man's Sky Next update. The game also hit Xbox One. This is almost 2 years after the game initially launched. It came out August 2016. There was a lot of disappointment going around because people thought there would be multiplayer.
Will you be able to play with your friends? Yeah.
People were expecting dinosaurs running around in lakes. They were expecting all the, basically like the crazy terrain planets that had been shown in the trailers, and what the game actually released with was not at that level. So there's huge backlash.
Hello and welcome to another behind the scenes in Sea of Thieves. Today I'm joined by design director Mike Chapman and software engineer Topher Winward, and we're here to talk NPCs. So, what kind of role do NPCs play in our game?
Well, I think we've always been really clear in the vision of the game in that players are the main characters of Sea of Thieves.
There you are. Oh,
Hi. Oh my god.
You're hideous.
You look like someone found out what the liquefy tool in Photoshop is.
You look like someone took the bulge tool to every part of your face.
But at the same time, you still got these characters that have come to the world with their own motivation. And I think part of the work we're doing now is to turn them from just, well, I guess if you played the technical alpha, we've got a single clothing seller, a single shipwright that we've just duplicated around the world. But now it's start to put in more variety of NPC, but also give them a little bit of a backstory. So I think one of the cool things about Rare as a company is that it's always had this reputation for these kind of colourful characters that have each got their own personality, and that's something that will be alive and well in Sea of Thieves. So the Gold Hoarders are deliberately a little bit miserable, they're a little bit miserly, and that's reflected in not only their vocalisations, how they greet you and how they say goodbye, but also in their text. Merchants are a little bit stuffy. They're a little bit more restrained, like, may I be of assistance? Like a little bit stuffy. And the Order of Souls are pretty creepy. There's this kind of, well, they seem like they're helpful, but they might have ulterior motives. So there's a kind of general creepiness around the Order of Souls.
On every planet, you can expect to see the same outposts and shelters over and over. Each space station has the same NPC sitting in the same looking chair offering up a speech check in the same looking room. Despite the fact the space station is as big as a planet, there's only ever one person working there.
A game that will allow our players to have unique and memorable adventures together. A shared world adventure game. Set in a fantastical world, this game will bring players together and give them the freedom to play with limitless possibilities. This is by far the most ambitious game Rare has ever created.
Are there forms of life in this game that are beyond normal comprehension?
I'd like to think so.
Do the animals eat each other?
Yeah, they do.
This is a genetic disorder called hereditary angioedema. And when you look at these faces side by side, what most people think is occurring here is an allergic reaction. They have to be extremely careful because when this happens, you can get so swollen that you can
lose
your airway.
I saw this in my ENT days.
So you can't make a fun game just based on algorithms. Like just being procedurally generated, just being a ton of content isn't going to make something fun.
No Man's Sky feels like a game without a soul, which it kind of is. I mean, it's hard to find something meaningful in something that's been created by a kind of algorithm.
This whole game, it is a multi-quintillion planet universe that's all generated. It's obvious you can't do that by hand. You'd die first.
Right.
So it's all, the game's built on algorithms you've talked about in the past. So my first question to you, and this is a genuine question, do you consider yourself a genius?
I could really care less about procedural generation. In fact, I wish developers would just stop using it. It takes all the thought and craft out of video game design, and as a result of using it, you're likely to see some absolutely retarded shit.
There are major optimization issues. I tested this out both on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and both consoles seem to have a lot of issues with frame rate actually sticking when you're trying to go back into orbit. And this is the worst thing of all. My game crashed hard 11 times in 6 hours. Yes, you heard me correctly, 11 times.
Recharge.
Fuck! It needs a wing, a tail wing, but it's pretty much a spitting image.
Run! I think you should just give up on it. No!
There's also a Kraken, which is truly the epitome of this game. It looked really cool during the marketing, but turns out there's nothing there beneath the surface, and the actual battle was anticlimactic and unrewarding.
We've made the decision for now just to temporarily disable Skeleton Forts and the Kraken so that we can go ahead with releasing Curse Sales. It's not a position that we want to be in. It's not ideal at all. Obviously, in future, this isn't a position that we want to be in. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
Marketing and hype have kept many a released game going while their developers toil away on much-needed fixing and content addition. This is an issue that's only gotten cloudier as publishers have embraced the live service model, where games are now launched with the expectation they'll wind up a different experience by the end.
And substantial portion of digital revenues are microtransactions. When you are 6 hours into playing Battlefield and you run out of ammo in your clip and we ask you for $1 to reload, you're really not very price sensitive at that point in time. And for what it's worth, the cogs on the clip really low. And so essentially what ends up happening, and the reason the play first, pay later model works so nicely, is the consumer gets engaged in a property. They might spend 10, 20, 30, 50 hours on a game. And then when they're deep into the game, they're well invested in it. We're not gouging, but we're charging. And at that point in time, the commitment can be pretty high. As a personal anecdote, I spent about $5,000 calendar year to date on doing just this thing, this type of thing on our products and others. I can readily attest to how well it works. But it's a great model, and I think it represents a substantially better future for the industry.
If this is the path the industry is intent on going down, then it is genuinely unwise to buy games until a year later when the GOTY version's out and the game's been patched, until it's actually good. I don't think that's what game patches should exist for, and I don't think it's healthy for the industry.
You can tell there's parts of the islands that are made to house quests later on, like that big arena fighting pit that we saw earlier. What are you doing?
Look at this awesome boss arena.
That's it.
They're spawning inside.
What the fuck? Look at your character! Look at your character! Outcast, come here!
Everybody get to me. Everybody come to me. Come oh no! I can't handle that.
I've had some performance issues on PC. That game has been a little bit...
Really?
Yeah. During that initial loading shader screen, like, I had like 5 frames a second.
Oh, wow.
And
You know what? I had the same thing. Once it loaded in, it was fine.
Me too on PS4.
But
Yeah.
it's almost
Yep.
like it was writing something, or it was going through its generation. It was rolling a lot of dice.
Take off your shirt. No. No. Good try. Whoa, why is it
No,
like
I won't do that.
chuggy a little bit? That's fine now.
No, this menu can chug. It's ironing out all the kinks.
Aqua Futura says, got my first bug. My cockpit keeps opening and closing during fighting or during flight. That sounds cool.
Show us first person, please. We did that. F4. Good one. Is that on PS4? Yeah, it's gonna be on. It's on all 3 platforms. No, it should be. Yeah. Wow, chat is going real fast.
Look at all these planets slowly coming our way. It's like we put on the slow-mo mode.
I'm good. I've been watching them play mainly. I think Rob's excited. Jake's excited.
This is taking a while. Maybe it's like the first time load. Because what is this PC?
It's got a 1070 in it. It's got an i7.
There also, there's some, I don't know if you guys have this problem, I'm having some draw distance issues.
But the one thing I've run into on the PlayStation side is there's like a sound bug.
So you're playing PS4?
Yeah, I'm playing PlayStation 4. So as soon as you like launch or like you turn your like jet engines on to like go anywhere, the audio kind of like clips, so it's like, and then the engines kick in. When I was trying to stream it, it would immediately just crash the game. And then we would also have issues where like, literally the planet I landed on before we got to the center of the universe was mining resources, and then the ground just disappeared, and I sunk right into the center of the planet.
What made you stick with it for that long? Because that seems like the most masochistic thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing that my brother would always say to me, that I was like 50% playing games, 50% making broken stuff, basically.
Craig, our studio head, said it's our most ambitious game ever.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be true. Yeah, so...
You know, we declared that if you don't like Sea of Thieves, you don't like video games early on in the preview process. And we still believe that.
And it's been a long time since I was as disappointed with a game on release as I am Sea of Thieves. I was pretty hyped for this, I'm not gonna lie. But at $60, this can only fairly be described as a ripoff.
It just feels like this game is still almost in beta. It feels like it's not a full, big, head-on release of a AAA game.
One of the most interesting things we learned there, or at least for me, which instantly was like game mechanic, we're doing that, was the phrase rats leaving a sinking ship is actually based on, because the rats used to live in the bottom of the ship where all the food was. But basically if water started coming onto the ship, they'd flee up and you'd see them running around the top and on the ropes, and at that point, it's basically a feedback mechanic that you're sinking. We went back and we prototyped it and we got it in and it's great. And I'd much rather that than a health bar, right, on the screen.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, you want to hear the water coming in and you want to hear the rats squeaking and then you're like, oh, we need to go and fix the holes, we need to go and fix the
So
holes.
is that what happens in this game? Rats just start coming
not in this, but we prototyped it back at the office.
Within 1 year, Sea of Thieves is going to be a completely different game than what it is now. This game, it pretty much released as a blank canvas. Sea of Thieves is Xbox's main games as a service. Games as a service being, over time, it builds and builds and builds.
We were hoping for a lot more in the full game. We're like, oh, this is the beta. In the full game, there's going to be a lot more. Where we started to play the game, we were a little going, oh, it's kind of a lot like the beta.
We can get into a position where we're getting to spend 4 or 5 or even 6 months on an update, and we can deliver that every 6 to 8 weeks. Like, our game's going to get crazy rich.
Yeah. You get a little initial feeling of wanderlust when you start up the game for the first time, and you go to a couple islands, and then you realize there's nothing on there. You can't find anything aside from planks, bananas, and cannonballs. It's really boring.
We're looking at getting into that rhythm of adding new little features, adding new content as we move forward, and really growing on the kind of the base of Sea of Thieves that we launched with.
We kept getting kicked off being online all the time.
We know it's frustrating. It's frustrating when you try and get into a game and you can't, or you have an issue in the game that's a bug or caused by something else. It's frustrating for us as much as it is for you.
The top issue we've got here is that players are having access issues during peak time.
When your business is to make an online game, and it's only online, you can't play it offline. It's not as though I could go do a one-player mode or anything like that. And you can't play that online game, there's an issue.
It's not just, turning on servers and having people join. It is about join rates. It is about message queues. It is about how many things in our services are getting hit with what concurrency. I guess what's a good thing is not all of these issues are affecting all players.
I very much feel like I'm playing an alpha of a game rather than a full release, and I realize there are plans to introduce new things like fishing and whaling and stuff, but to me, it's too little too late.
Everybody's been on you guys. Bring sailing, bring whaling, bring other sort of aspects into the game. You've said somebody needs to come and ask you. So we're here, we're coming to ask you.
Yes, what is that? Around, what are we asking, sorry?
Are we going to see sailing, are we going to see whaling or fishing or anything like that into the game as a sort of little side activity?
We hear the ask. We hear the ask. No, that we know there's a lot of passion for it. And Jez Corden especially, I don't know if you're from Windows Central, my God, when will he stop? When we put it in, hopefully.
I mean, this is really a full released product. You're charging the full amount of money. You haven't labeled it as early access forms of anything, but it still feels like it's not even in the beta stages aside from maybe the polish and most of the mechanics.
Shooting it. Is that the cannon tower?
Yeah. Get the cannon tower. Go for the cannon tower. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Holy shit, guys. TJ.
There was an interview with Joe Neate, one of Rare's executive producers on the game, with US Gamer a while ago when they dropped information like that there was going to be like pet DLC and a whole bunch of other stuff. In this article, it mentions that they're looking at the first big major update to be like within 3 months after the game launches.
Too long.
Yeah,
it's too long. And if they try to sell me anything more for this game, I'll lose my shit.
Yeah,
It's a $60 game for very little content.
From what it says here,
they cannot sell more stuff.
They want players to be going after the whole like legendary status with the pirates.
But what does it do?
Speaking Trumpet was a wonderful example of how our community latched on to using that in so many unique and fun ways, right? I'm sure you guys have been having fun with that as well, but like Shelley, our senior designer, was playing and she heard another ship kind of, basically they just went, hello, this is Wendy's, can we take your order please? And so Shelley was like, can I get a cheeseburger and fries? And they were like, sorry, we've only got bananas. I think Shelley was playing, our senior designer, and a boat kind of approached them and was like, hey, this is Wendy's, what would you like to order? He was like, oh, cheeseburger and chips. Yeah, sorry, we only have bananas. Shelley.
Well, as Mike said, like the Devil's Roar area is all about that, the world coming alive. Like, so we've...
Shelley.
There's a laundry list of things this game promised us but did not deliver. Things like different ship classes for different playstyles, landing on asteroids, destroying space stations and fleets, huge space battles between warring factions, scanning the galactic map to find the resources you need on different planets, and having the availability of those resources be dependent on how far away the planet is from the sun, crashed freighters, portals at work. None of it is there.
Artifact.
Inventory full.
People stand in line. People stand in line. Exactly your message. We're dead in the water now. We're dead in the water now. Dead in the water. A simple act of faith. A simple act of faith. A simple act of faith. A celebration of the color and the creed. The cancer and the seed. Crackles on the mind. Call it what you like. We're dead in the water now. We're dead in the water now. We're dead in the water.
Cool stuff in this release that we wanted to stay kind of stuck to the original release date, and all of our efforts right now, obviously apart from releasing Careless Duel, is now just going and fixing those performance issues and making sure that we can then re-enable them as soon as possible.
Shelley.
I'm never gonna dance again.